So guys, one of the questions that I'm asked quite regularly is what's a typical London property? You know, obviously starting out investing in London, you know, you're not really sure what you should be looking for or what price brackets, that sort of thing. But in actual fact, 80% of what we do fits into quite regimented price brackets. You know, so what I want to do is explain that to you today so you sort of get a feeling for that. The other 20%, and what we do at YPC is we pretty much have every 6 weeks we launch something which I guess you might call it as the high end or a bit special or something. It might be riverfront or it might be, you know, something central London, you know, zone 1. Every 6 weeks we try and launch something like that. But then 80% of the stuff is the stuff that I'm going to chat about today, and it's what most of the things that will make up your portfolio, unless you're looking for something that you can sit around the dinner table and say, I own riverfront in London, you know, or whatever. But okay, so let's have a look. So first of all, the typical London property, okay? The typical London property is going to be a leasehold apartment. That leasehold is going to be somewhere between 99, 125, 250 or 999 years leasehold, okay? Now, if you're out in the Asian markets or the Middle Eastern markets, you guys tend to shy away from the 99 year side of things, go for the longer leasehold stuff, okay? That's fine. A lot of developers now are responding to that and putting the 999 on there for their new leases, okay? Now, interestingly is, for instance, if you're in somewhere like Singapore where they have leasehold property, it's a little bit different in the UK. In the UK, once your lease ends or as your lease starts to expire, you actually have, there's legislation that allows you to extend it. So it's not necessarily once the lease is up, you hand the property back and walk away. You can actually extend it. There is legislation there, there's a mathematical equation that works it all out. There's a whole book you can read about how to work that out, but pretty much if you're going to do that, get a solicitor involved that does that for you. So, leasehold property. Now, let's look at there's 4, I guess, types of property that I'll talk about. Studios, 1 beds, 2 beds, and 3 beds. Now, 80% of the stuff is going to be 1 and 2 bedrooms. And what I'd say is if you're not sure, just stick with your 1 and 2 bedrooms, okay? Because some areas, what you don't want is lots of studios, okay? And same with the 3 bedrooms. But if you're in an area that can handle 3 bedrooms or studios, so for instance, Canary Wharf, fantastic, studios, no problems, yeah? In actual fact, in a lot of the developments, you'll see there's more studios than 2 bedrooms because that's the style of living that people are happy with, okay? But at the end of the day, some areas, you know, you want, well, all areas, 1 or 2 bedrooms, no problems, all right? So just stick with those unless you know what's going on, okay? Unless you know the market, unless you know the development, you know how many, you know, look at the floor plan and see how many 3 bedrooms compared to 2 bedrooms compared to studios compared to 1s, all right? So 80% will be this 1 and 2 bedroom market, and that's where I'd suggest, especially if you're buying from overseas, just stick with that, unless you're working with someone like us and we can show you that a 3 bedroom you're getting for the same price as a 2 bedroom and your yield's going to be higher, you know, or a studio you're getting exceptionally cheaper, okay? But yeah, now in terms of the price, for the studio you're going to be looking at about 180 to 200,000 pounds. And what I'm talking about here is zone 1s through 5. Now as you get out to zone 4 and 5, it'll probably drop, but remember this is just your rules of thumb, alright? I'm not saying you're not going to get higher or lower, but if you just think rule of thumb, yeah, 180 to 200, okay? 1 bedrooms, 250, 2 bedrooms, 350. So these are the main figures that you want. 1 bedroom, 250, 2 bedroom, 350, alright? And then a 3 bedroom, 400, 450, alright? The problem with once you get into these sort of areas, it really depends on square footage. You can have a large 3 bedroom, or you can have a 3 bedroom that's no bigger than a 2 bedroom, okay? So, but these are the 2 figures that you want, 250, 350. Now, what are you looking at in terms of capital required? Now, this is working on our 2-year cash flow. So this is not just to buy it, this is to buy it and fully fund it for a full 2 years, okay? So what you're looking at, studio about 50 to 70,000, 60 to 100,000 for a 1 bedroom, yeah, 100 to 150,000, and 120 to 170, 125 that should be, to 175. Rules of thumb again, guys, that will change with each property. But if you're thinking, right, I've got £200,000 to spend, you can potentially get 2 1 bedrooms, no problems, okay? You could probably squeeze in 3 1 bedrooms, all right? But we'll have, you know, you want to be talking to a portfolio manager about that. All right, so let's come back now. In terms of gross yield, okay, gross yield, you're looking at about 3 to 6%. Now you're going to see lots of people saying 7% and things like this, but oftentimes what they're doing is they're overinflating the rent, okay? This 3 to 6%, what I'm talking about there, that's with our guarantee. So we guarantee within 100 quid, that's what you're going to get, all right? So there's a lot of salesmanship in London, a lot of salesmanship everywhere in fact. Now the interesting thing with this yield right now is it's increasing, okay? So you're going to find your rents over the next 2, 3, 5 years are going to slowly creep up, all right? What we're talking about is zone 1 to 5. Now, I know if you're international, you're going to say, hold on a sec, my bank will only lend zone 1, zone 2, or zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. They won't, all right? Now, sure, if you even go to them and speak to them directly, that's their book, that's what they'll throw at you. But realistically, if you're working with someone like us, they're happy to lend out to zone 5, no problems whatsoever, as long as it's a suitable development. But obviously, the type of stuff we're sourcing is absolutely fine. Service charge. Now this is just, again, a rule of thumb. You're looking at about £3 to £4.50 per square foot, okay? So if you've got 1,000 square foot at £3, that's $3 grand a year, all right? So you've got to be prepared for that, all right? Now, interesting, 3 to 4, you can get up as high as, I've seen, £8.50. The thing with that, you've got pools, concierges, libraries, all sorts of stuff, okay? I tend to stay away from that, all right? If there's too much stuff for tenants to do, you're paying for that, not them necessarily. It's not necessarily going to be reflected in the rent that you receive. So stay away from that. Once it gets about $4.50 right now, that's about my maximum. Anything more than that, I'm kind of like, actually, I'm going to back away from this, all right? Because that's only going to go up, yeah? Okay, 80% of what you're going to get right now, we're talking 2012, all right? Most of the stuff is going to be off the plan. Why? Because that's what developers are doing right now. That's where they're looking. They're looking to start their developments, so off plan is going. 20% will be stock, so 80-20. Now, always get questions about the rental market. The great thing with London and the rental market is that, look, you're not going to have a problem renting your property. If you're using a competent agent and you know what you're doing, laughing at, certainly if you're using YPC, not a problem whatsoever. Because obviously you've got guarantees in place that after that 6-week mark, we're paying the rent for you, okay, if we haven't found a tenant. Now, so the rental market, look, you should be let within 6 weeks without any problems, without any dramas. I've never, ever, we're talking now in over 10 years of being in London, had a problem renting a property in London, okay? Never. Now, that's not to say that we haven't had problems with people not paying and all the usual sort of tenant issues, we have. But in terms of finding a tenant, not a problem. And now, this is one of the big ones. A lot of people sort of talk to me and go, oh, I want a professional tenant. That's rubbish, okay? Now sure, you may want a professional tenant, but the fact is, if you walk around London, London is a melting pot of everything, okay? And what I mean by everything, I mean there's doctors, there's nurses, there's all your professional bankers and things like that. But then there's also white-collar workers, there's IT workers, there's, you name it, every single profession, every single country is all chucked into this melting pot, which is called London. So when people talk about a world city, London is a world city. And by you saying, I want a professional, well, that's not necessarily going to be the case. As long as they pass the credit checks, which they're all going to get credit checked, and it doesn't come back if they need it. If they come back with a guarantor, then the guarantor has to pass the credit check. So there's steps in there, and as long as those steps are followed, you'll be fine. You won't necessarily need to know who the tenant is or what their occupation is. Right? So don't get caught up on this too much. Now they all are going to pay a 6-week deposit. Alright, now that's going to cover you if they do any damage, if they stop paying rents and things like that, okay? So realistically, that gives you a really good broad stroke view of the typical London property. Guys, have a great day and remember, live with passion.